Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you guys are good. So in this video, we will be talking about the fourth chapter of O-level math syllabus, that is decimals, fractions, and percentages. So I am going to share my screen. Okay, so I've shared my screen and here we will be discussing decimals, fractions, and percentages. The question from this section would be about the conversion from one type to the other. Okay, I'll zoom in just so we have a better understanding of everything. In the first row, I can see 1 by 2. In the second row, I can see 0.5. And in the third row, I can see 50%. I have three different numbers, 1 by 2, 0.5, and 50%. But are these numbers different or are they mathematically same? Okay. Now in maths, we have several ways of representing numbers. You can represent a number in fractions, in decimals, in percentages. In the very first row, 1 by 2 is equal to 0.5 and that is equal to 50%. Okay. This is the idea about this chapter. Here we will see how to go from one form to the other. Okay. We will again get back to this table. This was just for your reference. But before talking about this table, we need to discuss how to do these conversions. So let me scroll down. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's see how to convert a fraction to decimal. Okay, a fraction to decimal number. Okay, so the fraction was 3 by 8. Whatever I would be having in the numerator is the upper part of the fraction, this one. This would be the dividend and this is the divisor. So I am going to divide them. The dividend comes here and the divisor comes here. Okay, now I have 3 and 8. Okay. Now, when I will talk about 3 and 8, I know that 3 is less than 8. So I need to have a decimal over here. When I will have this decimal right here, I can write down a 0. Okay. So now I need to consider 30 and 8. I know that 8 multiplied by 3 is 24. Your tables must be good for this understanding because otherwise you would not be able to understand things well. 8 multiplied by 3 would give you 24. So we have written 3 here and we have 24 here, and then their difference would be of 6. Now 8 multiplied by 7 would give you 56. So I've written 7 here and I have 56 here. The difference is of 4. Again, because of this decimal, I can take the 0 down and that would be 40, and 8 multiplied by 5 is 40. So when I will write down 40 here, the difference would be of 0, remainder is 0. So this entire fraction has been converted to a decimal number that is equal to 3 by 8. So it would be 0.375. So I am going to repeat it once again. In this chapter, we will be converting fractions to decimals, decimals to fractions, and then fractions to percentages, right? So the very first discussion is about converting a fraction into a decimal number. The numerator will go inside in the dividend place, that is this one. The denominator would come here. Since 3 was less than 8, I had to take this decimal. Because of this decimal, I could take a 0. Now I need to consider 30. 3 into 8 is 24. And that is how I just did my usual division. So this gave me 0.375. 0.375 is the decimal number, and that is how I would be converting. Okay, let's talk about another thing now. Okay, now we are going from fractions to percentages. First we discussed fraction to decimal. Now Fraction to percentages. Okay, now whatever number you have, whatever number you have, if you are interested in converting it to percentage, just multiply it by 100%. Okay. For example, imagine we have 2 by 5. I am interested in seeing what would be the equivalent fraction of 2 by 5. So I've multiplied it by 100%. Multiply the fraction by 100% to convert it to percent. Okay. So 2 by 5 multiplied by 100%. So 5 is 1 times 5 and 5 is 20 times 100. So I would have 20 and this would become 2 into 20%. That is 40%. 40% would be the answer. Let's talk about another example. Let's say I have 3 by 7. Okay, now when I have 3 by 7, I cannot cancel out anything. So it would become 300% divided by 7. Okay, now 300% divided by 7 does not make any sense directly. So I need to find out 300 divided by 7. Okay. 300 divided by 7. Again, you will do that using that long division method, which we discussed in the previous question. And once you will divide, you would get 42.86. So then we will just write down this percentage sign as it is. So in short, a fraction is multiplied with 100% and this would give you the equivalent percentage of this fraction. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the third example. The third example is basically you have a mixed number that is 2 whole 3 by 4 and it is being multiplied by 100%. Why? Because here we are converting fractions to percentages. So if we have 2 whole 3 by 4, in order to convert it to a percentage, I need to multiply it by 100%. And this is a mixed number. I am not sure about how to convert a mixed number to a percentage. So first of all, I need to convert this mixed number to an improper fraction. How do I convert it to an improper fraction? So for this, we need to think about the method. Okay. So for converting 2 whole 3 by 4 in the denominator, we are going to have the same number, and in the numerator, I will do it this way. 2 would be multiplied by 4. That would give you 8. And then 8 plus 3 would give you 11. So this number right here, 1 second only. This number right here is basically 11. This is 11. Okay. So 11 by 4. Now 11 by 4 is the improper version of this mixed fraction. And now since the question was about converting it to percentage, so we need to multiply it to 100%. So I know that 4 is 1 times 4 and 4 is 25 times 100. So now I will multiply this 11 and 25 and this is going to give me 275. So the answer is going to be 275%. This is going to be the answer, right? This one is the correct one. Okay. All right. And then we have 9 by 2. Again, we are discussing how to convert any fraction to percentages. So for that, I need to multiply the fraction with 100% and I am going to cancel out the 2 and 100. It would give me 50 and 9 multiplied by 50% would be 450%. Okay. So this is how we convert a fraction to a percentage. Okay. Okay, now we have some questions here. Before those questions, let's just come here and see how do we convert a decimal number to a fraction. So far we have discussed fraction to decimal and fraction to percentage. Now we need to talk about how to convert a simple decimal number to a percentage. Okay, now for this, I have 0.25. I can multiply 0.25 by 100 and I can divide it by 100 as well. Now, obviously, I need to understand one thing. In maths, I can do operations, but I need to make sure that they are balanced, right? So I can multiply it. I can multiply the numerator by 100 and the denominator by 100. This way it would be balanced. And this is going to give me 25 divided by 100. When I will multiply 0.25 with 100, this decimal would move 1 and 2 units to the right, and it would become 25 by 100. Okay, now I know it would be 25 into 1 is 25 and 25 into 4 is 100. So it would be 1 by 4. So now we know if you have a decimal number, you can multiply it by 100, you can divide it by 100, so it's mathematically balanced, and then just do the cancellation stuff. Once you're done with the cancellation stuff, that is how you would understand what would be the equivalent fraction. Let's talk about one more example of this type. Okay, here it is. Okay, now let's say we had this decimal number 0.375 and I had to convert it to a fraction. Let's talk about this thing now. Okay, so imagine we have 0.375. Now I can see I have 3 decimal places, so I need to multiply it by 1000 and I need to divide it by 1000. So it would become 375 divided by 1000. Now I know both the numerator and the denominator, they are divisible by 5. So the numerator would become 75 and the denominator would be divided by 5 as well. So it would become 200. Again, I can divide both of them by 5. So the denominator would become 40 and the numerator would also be divided by 5 and it would become 15. Again, I can divide by 5, so it would be 3 and it would be 8, and finally I got 3 by 8. That is correct. Okay, so in this example, technically we had to convert this fraction to this decimal number, but then we used the decimal number and we have converted it to a fraction. How have we done this? By looking at the decimal places of the number and multiplying it to 1000, because we had 3 decimal places, so we would be having 3 zeros. We had to divide by 1000 as well because it has to be mathematically balanced, and then we just did simple cancellation stuff and I got 3 by 8. Okay, all right, let's talk about some past paper questions then. Okay, now it says express 45% as a fraction in its lowest terms. Okay. Now part A of this question says you have a percentage number and you need to convert it to a fraction. So we did not discuss this. Let's discuss it over here. Now students, always remember 45% can be written as 45 per and then cent. Okay, percent basically means the number divided by 100. So 45% means 45 divided by 100. Okay, now this is a fraction in its lowest terms, means I need to cancel out things. So 5 into 9 is 45 and then 5 into 20 is 100. So this would be 9 by 20. So this is going to be the answer of the very first part. Okay, we had to convert a percentage number to a fraction. What is the method? The method is just divide it by 100 and just simplify it by cancelling out stuff. And once we have cancelled out some stuff, we are going to get 9 by 20. Okay. Second part of the question is express 2 by 7 as a decimal, giving your answer correct to 2 decimal places. All right. Okay. Now the question is about converting a fraction into a decimal number. Okay. How do we convert a fraction to a decimal number? In order to do so, we have a fixed method. I will be talking about it over here. It's question part B. So it is 2 by 7. This is my dividend. This is my divisor. In order to convert this fraction to decimal, I need to do the long division. So 2 and 7, a decimal and a 0. 2 multiplied by 2 is 14. The difference is of 6. I would get a 0 again. Then I know 7 multiplied by 8 is 56. And the difference is of 4, again 0. And 7 multiplied by 5 is 35. And it would be 5. Okay. Now I can see it is going on continuously, but I don't need that much. The question was correct to 2 decimal places only. I got 0.285. So I can convert it to 2 decimal places. This is the second decimal place. Since the third decimal place has a number equal to 5, so I will add 1 to this one and it would become 0.29. So this is going to be the answer. Okay. All right. Okay. So these were the first 2 parts that were important. The last part says 16% of a number is 60. Find the number. Okay. Now, in order to understand this, we need to think about it logically. 16% of a number. Okay. For this, I will be erasing the first 2 parts because this is a bit technical. And then I'll explain. So basically, whatever question you see, be careful and be smart enough to write down the equivalent version of whatever you have. Okay. So we have 16% of a number, let's say x is 60. Okay. 16% of a number, let's say the number is x, is 60. You need to find the number, you need to find x. Let's convert it into mathematical statement. 16% is 16%. I've told you percent can be written this way. Of is multiplication, x equals 60. I can take this 100 to the other side, it would be multiplied. 16x equals 6000 and x is equal to 6,000 divided by 16. So let's write down the number. It is 6,000 divided by 16 and the number is 375. So this is the answer. So this time around, the question was a bit different. This is not exactly from this chapter, but yes, it's important and it's good that we discuss this as well. So it was 16% of a number is 60. 16% means 16 by 100. Of means multiplication. A number means x, is means equal, 60. I've just used some basic mathematical operations and I've converted it to the final answer, that is 375. Okay, let's talk about the next things. All right. Okay. Now this is basically something we need to understand. This last page has a few questions. You can just do any one of them Let's talk about the third one. I will just highlight the third one. The third one is 1 by 4, 0.25 and 25%. So I will stop sharing this. I will share my whiteboard. Okay. So the question is 1 by 4. Let's convert 1 by 4 to percentage first. Okay. So this would be fraction to percentage. Okay. For now, we are talking about a fraction to percentage. For that, I need to multiply this fraction by 100%. Okay. So it's 1 times and 4 into 25 is 100. So it would give me 25%. Okay. So this is what I had. And now if the question is about converting 1 by 4 to decimal, since you know it is 25%, 25% can be written as 25%. If you have 100 in the denominator, your decimal would move to 2 decimal places to the left and it would become 0.25. Okay. So this was the very first example in which we have converted a fraction to a decimal as well as a percentage. Okay, all right. So I'll stop sharing this screen. And again, I am going to switch to the PDF we were discussing. All right. Okay, let's talk about another one now. Let's take out percentage now. Let's talk about this. Imagine we have 40% now and we were asked to convert this 40% to a fraction. So 40% to a fraction is what? I can write it down as 40 divided by 100. 0 and 0 would be cancelled, so it would be 4 by 10. And if the examiner has told you that you need to give the answer in the simplest form or in the lowest terms, then you'll have to cancel out this 4 and 10 as well. So it would become 2 and this would become 5 and it would be 2 by 5, right? Okay, let's talk about one more question. Let's say we have 0.8 and now you need to convert it to a fraction. So I can see I have one decimal only. So I'll be multiplying it by 100. I'll be dividing it by 100. So it would become 8 by 10. So 8 by 10 is my fraction. Again, if the question or if the examiner has told you to give the answer in the lowest terms, then be careful and make sure that your final answer is in lowest terms. So if you have 8 by 10, you can write it as 4 by 5, right? Okay. Let's talk about another one. Let's talk about 5%. Okay, now imagine you have percentage and you are interested in converting it to decimal. I can write it as 5 by 100. If I have 100 in the denominator, initially the decimal is over here, it would move 2 decimal places to the left, 1 and 2, so it would become 0.05. Okay, so 5% would basically be 0.05. And if the question was about converting it to fraction, so I would have just simplified this part. I would have cancelled this. So this is 5 into 20 and 5 into 1. So it would be 1 by 20. Okay. So that is the idea about this chapter. I'll again just give a quick summary of what we have discussed. On the very first page, we have some common typical examples of some fractions, their equivalent decimal numbers, and their equivalent percentages. If you have a fraction, and if you're interested in converting it to decimal, we will use long division. If you have a fraction and if you're interested in converting it to percentages, you need to multiply it by 100%. If you have a decimal and you're interested in converting it to a fraction, you will multiply it by 100, 10,000, depends upon the decimal places of the decimal number. And if you have a decimal number and you are interested in converting it to percentage, so for that, what you can do is just convert the decimal number into a fraction and then multiply it by 100%, right? So yes, that is the idea. Then we discussed this example. Here we had a fraction, and we converted this fraction to a decimal number by long division, and then we used that decimal number and we converted it to a fraction. Okay, all right. And once we are done with this, we discussed fractions to percents, and this was basically done by multiplying 100% to this fraction. Let's say the first one was 2 by 5. I multiplied it by 100% and I've just cancelled out everything. It gave me 40%. So this is how I convert a fraction to percentage, and it would be 40%. And then we talked about some past paper questions. The first part had a percentage. We had to convert it to a fraction. For that, we divided by 100 and we just did some simplifications, cancellations. Then for the second one, we had a fraction. We had to convert it to a decimal number. For that, I used long division. And the third one was basically a bit technical question. It said 16% of a number is 60. So 16% of a number is 60, right? So 16% can be written as 16 by 100 of his multiplication. X is X, it is equal to 60. I made X the subject and I got 375, okay? Then again, we had a decimal number, we converted it to a fraction, and that is it, okay? So this was basically the fourth chapter of O-level math syllabus, decimals, fractions, and percentages. If you have any queries, any concerns, any difficulties, you're more than welcome. You can just ask me directly. I'll answer you directly. If you're interested in our live classes, you can just use the link in description box to get yourselves enrolled. And yeah, that is the idea. So I'll see you in the next video. Take care, all of you, and Allah Hafiz.